Once again, a very warm welcome and thank you so much for tuning in to Mirror Now. Let's quickly get started with our top focus story at this hour. Now remember, today marks 5 years of the GST implementation. The single taxation system came into force, remember, in the year 2017 on July 1st. Half a decade later, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the GST system survived teething problems and it is now 5 years stronger. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Congress has once again cornered the government over the centre's version of the GST system, saying that its defects have in fact only worsened over the last 5 years. Former Finance Minister P Chidambaram has criticized the GST in its current form and said that it was not the design that the UPA government had in fact envisioned. Listen in.
After 5 years of GST, there is no rationalization in the number of returns to be filed. Compliance with e-way bill and e-invoicing is no simpler. Various provisions of the GST laws have still not been implemented, and instead the government has resorted to stopgap or temporary arrangements, some of which have lasted 5 years. Claiming refunds is a nightmare, and thousands of cases are being litigated in the courts. Adding to these woes is a recurrence of technical glitches that have not been sorted out even after 5 years.
All right, so 5 years on, but clearly the political face-off over the GST implementation continues. And to tell us more on this, I'm being joined by my colleague Avni Raja, live from the Mumbai newsroom. Avni, 5 years on, but clearly there is no end to this political showdown over the implementation of GST, with Chidambaram's remarks only stoking the debate further. If you could just throw some, some light on what exactly are the key takeaways from the statements that have been made by both the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman as well as the former Finance Minister P Chidambaram.
Well, that's right. In fact, both sides have put forth, and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman talking about the advantages of GST and how it has really helped the system and helped the economy, whereas P Chidambaram really lashing out at the GST regime and the way the entire system has been implemented. So let me just take you through some of these highlights here at this point in time. First off, the Finance Minister has said that initially there were teething issues, but GST did survive the turbulence, especially through the COVID period, to which Chidambaram has responded saying that there were major defects even when it was implemented in the beginning, and those defects have in fact worsened over the past 5 years. Then, in fact, Finance Minister says that 17 different laws were merged for one taxation system, to which the response comes from Chidambaram is that today's GST is a complex web of many rates, conditions, exceptions and exemptions. He goes on to talk about technical glitches that even now exist even after 5 years, and problems with e-way bills and claiming refunds as well. So he goes on to outline all of that. Then Finance Minister also talks about how GST eliminated the tax arbitrage that existed among the states, to which Chidambaram has pointed out that there is a huge lack of trust between the centre and states when it comes to GST, and that has only worsened over the last few years with respect to the compensation to the states, which has been an extremely contentious issue. Remember, over the last few years, especially since COVID. In terms of the other important point that has been mentioned by Finance Minister is the national consensus on tax issues, which she claims, whether it's rates and exemptions. But Chidambaram says that there's been no consensus at GST meetings. The council meets end up with no proper consensus on the most important issues, and there's a skewed formula on voting rights. Aside from that, in fact, Chidambaram has also talked about how the destruction of MSMEs have happened. Small units are completely out of business, and Finance Minister says that continued objective is to keep the tax burden on MSMEs low. And she also goes on to talk about how there's an enhanced exemption limit from 20 lakh to 40 lakh for MSMEs. But Chidambaram here, opposes and says that the only people who have benefited are big businesses, CAs and tax lawyers. They also go on to talk about certain numbers as far as the taxpayers who have come onto the GST regime, 1.38 crore. whereas another important number that Finance Minister mentions is over 63.9 lakh taxpayers migrated into the GST system in July 2017. But Chidambaram here talks about excessive cess, holding back of arrears, and the fact that states have been betrayed. And finally, another point is about the e-way bills. Finance Minister talks about the average collection, which is about 1.55 lakh crore. And in fact, Chidambaram says that e-way bills are no simpler at this point in time in terms of the entire process, and claiming refunds also being a nightmare. Back to you.